everyone, I'm Jim Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today. Coming up later on, our infamous roundtable gets together. We'll see what kind of controversies they get into. But between now and then, some great guests and important information coming your way. We'll talk about occupational medicine. We'll talk about care for seniors. And we'll meet three individuals who are very committed to helping United Way. All that and much more coming your way. But first, we have three very remarkable, internationally famous people with us. When I say people, two of them are people. Next to me, a gentleman who's been with us before, Cody Kuykendall is here, and he has a special guest with him, and next to him is his dad, Kent Kuykendall, who is president of Goose Masters, and your special friend that you're holding is Rowdy. Is that
Yep.
Rowdy the dog. Rowdy, how are you? It's good to see you. How old is Rowdy?
3.
3 years old. And if I ask you how old your son is, would you know?
I would. I think he's about 25.
That's good. Well,
Yeah.
so we've got all that straight now. Anyway, welcome to the program, and welcome back, Cody, for that.
Thank you for having us.
Cody, just quickly remind our audience what Goose Masters is.
Yep, Goose Masters is a service company where we use the highly trained border collies to rid Canada geese off of properties, pretty much any property that has a problem.
Where the geese have been a nuisance. And when we say rid, we're not talking about killing the geese or whatever. We'll get to that in just a second. It's a very humane thing, and it's fascinating. Ken, how long has Goose Masters been around, and why is there such a need for your services?
Well, my wife and I, Gwen, started Goose Masters in 2004. And the reason there's a need is the Canada geese stopped migrating. So they've made the Triad home. So they're here year round.
Really?
And so, you know, they're very destructive of property. They can be very aggressive to people, you know, during nesting season. And,
Right.
And so they can tear up the grass, cause erosion,
kind of
and
a health and safety risk too in some cases too.
Yes, sir. They leave 2 pounds per head per day behind them.
Oh yeah, and we know what those 2 pounds are. So
Yes.
if you got a problem around your office building, complex, apartment complex, we're going to give you a website that you can go to later to get in touch. But I want to. One of the things I really want to focus on here is your services are in demand now, or about to be in Hawaii. Now, what's going on down there?
Well, they're having the same problem over in Hawaii with the nene, which is the Hawaiian state bird. And they're not only endangered, they're on the endangered list, and they're also protected.
Yeah.
So it was difficult for them to get us to be able to harass them, but now we were the only ones allowed to do that, to get them off of the place where they're concentrated a lot is in Kauai, and there's 2 resorts that surround an airport.
So they want to move them.
They want to get them out because they're causing a problem with the planes.
Right, and move them humanely, which is the thing I was getting at a while ago, Cody, because the dogs, like Rowdy, do not hurt geese, or in this case, nene, in any way.
Yep, they're a herding dog, so their instinct is to gather the flock of sheep or geese or pretty much whatever you work them and try to bring them back to the handler.
Yeah, now very quickly, Kent, I'm curious, if I think I've got a problem with my resort or with my apartment complex or wherever it is, I say these geese or whatever is a problem, will you come out and do a free demonstration? Will you come out and give a free assessment? I mean, how does this work?
Yeah, we come out and give a free on-site demo of the dogs and a free quote for our services.
All right, now I want to put up on screen some information here. It's goose dash, or hyphen, I guess it'd be a hyphen, goose-masters.com. For the radio listening audience, I want to say it again, goose-masters.com. And I just think this is great. Does it take a long time to train Rowdy, Cody?
It starts as a puppy, and then it can take a few years after they're mature enough to start learning. Then it'll still take a few years to be at the level of Rowdy and trustable on airports and everything
Does
like that.
Does he have time, Kent, does he have time, do your border collies have time for dating or recreation or anything like that, or they just work all the time?
Well, they're just like us. All they want to do is work. Yeah.
Cody's saying, wait a minute, Kent, well, I'm not even going to get into that, but do you have a girlfriend, Rowdy? What do you say? Rowdy's kind of all business, isn't he?
Yeah, mostly. He
very
loves to work. That's what they love to do. So.
Well, how about that? Well, you ought to get into TV work then, Rowdy. What a beautiful dog. Isn't that something? Lori Bates, our director, I think we got a close-up of that. But Gwen is off camera distracting him a little bit. Thanks for bringing Rowdy, and thanks for all you do. And again, I'll mention goose-masters.com, and I hope people will go to that website. Thanks, guys, for all you do. And let me know
Thanks
how
for
it goes.
having us.
Yeah,
Thank
let
you.
me know how it goes in Hawaii sometime.
Yep.
All right.
Will do.
We'll be right back after this. Triad Today, and I'd like to learn more about occupational medicine. So who better to help me through this than a very special guest seated next to me right now. We welcome Debbie Smothers. She's a family nurse practitioner. Among other things, she wears many hats at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center. You're also lead a team of professionals there on this occupational medicine thing too, right?
Yes,
What's
I
the
do.
title of that?
APP lead, and that means advanced practice provider, and advanced practice providers include nurse practitioners and physician assistants.
Wow, that's pretty neat. Now I want to learn more about this, and first of all, welcome. I didn't mean to be rude. Welcome to the
thank you,
program.
Jim.
What is occupational medicine? If you have to explain it to somebody that's not real smart like me, and say, here's basically what it is.
So occupational medicine is basically what happens at the work site, be it an injury that may occur, be it a pre-employment physical, because an employer needs to make sure and a person is physically fit to be able to perform that job. It could also mean DOT physicals, and DOTs for Department of Transportation. So individuals who are driving commercial motor vehicles, then they are going to need certain types of physicals performed.
So it's not even that you have to have had an injury. You could be perfectly healthy, but the employer wants to make sure that you are healthy to do that particular task.
Correct.
Because then if they find out in doing the physical that you have a chronic disability with your right ankle and you're trying to be a commercial driver, then they might say, hey, we got to rethink this.
Or if it's a very labor-intensive job and you may have a chronic back injury, and that may not be the job that's best suited for you, because that's a job that you may go into and you may become hurt further and not be able to do the job.
Okay, I get you. So you're thinking in terms of the best interest of the patient as well as the employer
Correct.
at the same time. Now, what kind of, you don't have to give me the whole list, but give me some examples of the services that you offer through occupational medicine.
So we offer a wide range of services. As I said, pre-employment physicals. We also do return to work physicals. So if someone has been out of work because of some type of medical problem, then they can come to our office, their employer can send them, and we can look at their job function and determine, are they ready to go back into that job that they were performing before they went out of work.
There was something on an email that you might have sent me. I'm trying to think back that it said something about best health for business. I'm thinking now, is that a slogan? Is that a program? Is that what did you mean by that?
So Best Health for Business is actually our departmental name. And basically for folks to understand, that is our corporate health and wellness department for Wake Forest Baptist.
Now, here's one that sort of surprised me, and it's sort of appropriate because on this particular show, we had a dog on the program,
Right.
and so a border collie. Now, if someone who works around animals needs to have a tetanus or rabies shot done, why is it a good idea to go to, let's say, Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center's occupational medicine?
So for those folks who work in an environment where they may have exposure to animals, such they're in veterinary medicine, or they may work in a setting where they're wildlife management, they may be around rabid animals. So those are folks who need to have pre-exposure vaccination for rabies.
I didn't even know there was such a thing.
There is pre-exposure.
And you do those?
We do those. And
see,
then we also, if someone was to get hurt on the job by getting bit by a dog, so there's someone that's a police officer and they're responding to a call and they get bit by a dog, then that dog is obviously quarantined. But if they need a rabies vaccination, we can offer that as well.
Well, that's interesting. Now, how does an employer get started using your occupational medicine services?
So they can call our office. They can also go to our website, and I believe you're going to put that information.
Yeah, I think it's up. Let's go ahead and put that up on screen. www.wakehealth.edu/ocmed. I'll say it again slowly for the radio listening audience as well. wakehealth.edu/OCC-med, M-E-D. And also, you can call area code 336-713-4642. We have about 30 seconds left. Wrap it up for us and tell me what this service really means for everybody around here.
Well, we have two locations, one in Davie County at our urgent care in the Moxville location at 1188 Yakinville Road, and we also have one at Winston East, which is just 5 minutes from downtown Winston. So we have locations to service all of our employer needs because we have a whole breadth of services that we weren't able to get into today during our discussion.
Will you come back sometime?
I would love to
We'll go
come
over
back.
some more, because there's a
Certainly.
lot more questions I've got for
Oh,
you.
yes.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you very much.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, we're going to talk about United Way from a different perspective by having three very special guests from NMAR with us to talk about their commitment to and participation in the annual campaign there, which has just concluded. And of course, a good friend of ours who's been here many times before, my immediate right, David Mounts, Chairman and CEO of NMAR. He brought along two very special friends of his who work at Inmar as well. Deanna Medina, who is Director of E-Commerce Solutions and also co-chair of the annual campaign. When I say co-chair, you're wondering, well, who was the other one? Well, he's sitting next to her. Thomas Irvin, the Senior Manager of Client Accounts and said co-chair of the annual campaign. Welcome to all three of you.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Good
much.
to see you. Good to
Thanks
see you.
for having us.
David, let's start out with you. Now, you've always been a passionate supporter of United Way, and Inmar just wrapped up the campaign. How did it go?
Well, it's going great. We have a great history at Inmar. You know, our founder in the early days made a decision that he was going to be committed. John Whitaker made a commitment to United Way and really developed that culture within our organization. I will tell you that in my own early days too, where I started, which was at UPS, we had a tremendous commitment. So I've been, you know, United Way fan since
In that culture for a long time.
culture, the earliest days possible. And we have really perpetuated that throughout our team, and we believe it's important. We do a lot of giving, we're involved in a lot of places, but when we come together as a team every year to make an impact, we do it through United Way.
Deanna, why is it important for you to serve as co-chair? Because I know this takes a lot of time and effort. This is not just a nice thing where let's go to lunch once and talk about something. You put a lot into it. Why is it important to you?
Well, I think it's part of the Inmar culture to be, giving, and that giving could be in the form of time, financial resources, or our passion, right, to our community and what we can do for the people that surround us. So we decided to take on this challenge, and it's definitely a team effort. So it's a great opportunity to take a few weeks out of the year and put aside the busy schedule and really concentrate on working to get better outcomes for our community. And our employees are very committed to that.
And Mr. Co-Chair, I'm looking at you, Thomas. You've seen this from a personal standpoint too, and we're not mentioning any names, but there was one story that came to mind very quickly about somebody that works at Inmar, a great person. I had a backstory that sort of brings this home. Mention it very quickly.
Sure, absolutely. And so we were very blessed to have one of our engineers share their testimony and personal story of how early on in their life they actually leveraged the services and were cared for in our community by many of the agencies that United Way partners with. And just how meaningful and impactful that was to him, to give him the support he needed at a critical, crucial time in his life when he didn't have a lot of support.
Right.
And now he's a key member of our team, a key innovator and supporting some of our largest clients.
David,
really
of course, as Thomas mentions an individual story, you also have your eye on the community at large and how those needs are met in the community by supporting United Way. Comment on that.
We live in an amazing community. I've said often, I've been blessed to live all over the world, and so I appreciate what's special about our community, and that is that we come together as a team to solve problems. United Way is a critical part of making that happen. We still have 15,000 people in our community that need meals. We have 1,000 patients that are fighting cancer. All of the challenges we face are better when we face them together and when we encourage and support and really spread the power of love through our community. United Way is a great way to do that, whether it's our own team member, which I know the individual they're speaking of is one of the all-time good guys. And we just wouldn't be as good a company as we are without them. We wouldn't be as good a community as we are without United Way. And so we want to make it clear that we support it. And we hope any companies out there that are not running campaigns will pick up the phone, call United Way, and get active and get a campaign going before the end of the year so they can help and make an impact too.
I want to put up some information on screen. Inmar.com, of course, gives you a website where you can go and learn all about the things that Inmar does. And David's been a great community servant, and I just want to praise him for that. But I also want to take just a moment to mention the website for the United Way. That's what we're all about right now, www.forsythunitedway.org. I'll say it again for the radio listening audience, www.forsythunitedway.org. That'll give you an idea of the kinds of services they offer, the kind of beneficiaries that they're serving, the agencies that they're serving, and those agencies are served only because good folks like David and Deanna and Thomas are working hard to make sure they are served. I want to thank all three of you for what you do.
Thank you so
Jim.
much.
We'll be right back after this. Now on Triad Today, always glad when some of the good folks from Ridge Care can drop by to help educate us a little bit, educate me about senior care and planning and all those things. We have a very special guest with us, first-time guest at Triad Today. We're so glad to have her. On my right is Susan Wilson, Director of Community Relations for Mallard Ridge Senior Living in Clemens, and Arbor Ridge of Stanleyville Independent Living. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, Jim. I appreciate it.
Can you explain just briefly to the audience and to me, if I say, okay, Susan, there's a difference between just a senior living community, an independent living, assisted living, skill, I mean, tell me what's the difference?
It's really, it's for those that are just navigating, it's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
And when you start learning all the terms and who's on first and who's on second and the different levels, it's like you've opened Pandora's box.
Right.
Independent living is where, honestly, Jim, you and I could probably go live
Okay.
and be comfortable and have our meals taken care of and live in a very nice apartment and have a kitchenette and have activities and
And then suppose I develop a disability, maybe I need to get in and out of a wheelchair, but I'm still pretty mobile.
I can still stay in independent living in at least in ridge care communities. We've got
Right.
the ability that we
Right.
can help out if you need a little assistance or
Okay.
little medication reminders and
And if
things.
you need more assistance, then you go to the next.
But then if it gets to be more, then it becomes better that I'm in a community. Perhaps falling becomes an issue,
Right.
or hydration, different things that become flags.
Okay.
And then you'll want to look into assisted living. And then the step up from that is skilled nursing.
Skilled nursing, yeah. Now, the winter is coming on, so I want to ask you something about what concerns should we have about our elderly parents who are still living, let's say living alone in their home, or maybe living together, but they're still at home, but winter's coming. We're in the planning stage of thinking, what does mom really need in the future? What concerns does winter have for you?
Well, you know, winter is multifolded, let me put it that way. We deal with shorter daylight, which affects everyone's mood. We deal with ice and
yeah.
precipitation.
Yeah.
And so you've got a couple different elements happening. And as people become busier, there's less time to get together with friends. Well, if you don't have that network around you, you might find that you feel even more isolated.
Isolated from there. So, and you get into a situation with independent living, even assisted living, then you've got people around you, you've got services around you.
There are activities that will keep you young and moving and energized.
Now, I'll admit, I've been through this with both my parents who passed away, but I'm not going to pretend to be ignorant about it because I do know the answer to this. But I want you to say very briefly, when is the right time? When do we know to start speaking with our elderly parents about senior care?
You know, I was reading an article the other day that mentioned early on, if you receive a diagnosis of a cognitive issue, an Alzheimer's or dementia issue, you want to plan that now. You want to start that planning right now. And it's a difficult conversation to have, but it's better to plan while everyone has their faculties and has their rationale. And have that laid out and ready to go. You don't want to be in a position where you have to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. You'd rather have
Absolutely.
control of your own destiny.
And with Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, families gathering, maybe at mom and dad's house, is that a good time to sort of pull them aside? And
Well, that's probably a good time to notice the differences. If
gotcha.
you've not been home, if you've not been with your loved ones, and suddenly you're seeing
they're not
changes in their dress or their behavior or their interactions,
maybe they're having
You-
trouble
that's
getting
when
around or
you
falling.
need to have
Okay, good. Now, is there a good time more than others to look for options and to study those options? I mean, can you just call anytime? You don't need a doctor referral or anything. I can just call you up and say, can we meet or what?
Absolutely. And you know, sometimes family members will use the doctor as an excuse for making that change. You know, the doctor says you can't go home alone.
Right, right.
And sometimes that works really, very well. But if you want to come looking,
Anytime.
anytime.
Up on screen, ridgecare.com is the website. I'll say it again for the radio listening audience, ridgecare.com. I hope you will check that out, folks. A lot of great services they offer because a lot of great facilities and varied facilities in what they offer throughout the area. To you, Susan Wilson, thank you for what you and your team do, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right. We'll be right back after today, and it's time for the infamous roundtable to gather, and what a great group they are. Now, I built them up now, so you know you've got to really perform.
I'm so nervous.
On my immediate right, but always a political left, Ogie Overman, the great award-winning broadcaster journalist. Next to him, the lovely, talented public speaker, author, and face of ABC 45, My 48, Carol Andrews. And next to her is the lovely and talented Dr. Don Martin, professor at High Point University and vice chair of the Forsyth County Commissioners, which is sort of appropriate, even though we don't have any election-related questions. But it was an interesting election all the way around, wasn't it? We'll let chew on that, maybe get some stuff next week on that. But congratulations to our roundtable member, B.J. Barnes, for being elected mayor of Summerfield. All right, now, gang, despite bad weather last week, most folks in the Triad celebrated Halloween. Some did on Thursday, some on Friday, but many schools across the country are canceling Halloween from now on. They say it offends some Christians who believe that the holiday is too satanic. Guys and gals, do you think Halloween should be canceled next year altogether to promote inclusivity? Ogie Overman.
No, I think the church, they need to get over it. I mean, Halloween's about candy and fun stuff. It's not, nobody thinks of Satan when they think of Halloween.
Carol.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think kids from the beginning of children like to dress up. Let them have fun. Let them have fun.
Don.
Make it 3. Dress up. I mean, it's great. And
Don,
if parents want to control that, they can do it.
But Don, you've always believed, you and Ogie especially believe in inclusivity. You're an educator and superintendent, so you don't think maybe they have a point at all about...
I really don't.
All right.
Maybe it's the church who's promoting exclusivity.
Yeah.
You have to be a Christian to adhere to our
Well, I'm
belief.
glad you mentioned that, because this next question is about religion. A Catholic priest in South Carolina recently refused to administer Holy Communion to former Vice President Joe Biden because Biden supports a woman's right to choose an abortion. Are you okay with what the priest did, or is this an example of the church trying to interfere with matters of state? Ogie.
No, I think they ought to kick the bum out or either tax the Catholic Church. How about that? I've taken communion dozens of times with my wife and mother-in-law. That's just almost borderline sinful.
Was it sort of a publicity stunt,
It was
Carol?
all politics,
What do you think,
putting it
Carol?
over religion.
I don't think so. And public disclosure, full disclosure, I'm the Catholic.
I understand.
So, but I think I can argue it both ways. I think what Vice President Biden has said is that personally he has an issue with abortion. Publicly, he supports a woman's right to choose.
That's right.
I think the church has an equal right because of doctrine to say, okay, opinions are one thing, but if I don't support that opinion, then I need to withhold this as a matter of my faith.
Interesting. Don.
Personally, I'm with Ogie, open table. Anybody who wants to have communion. However, Catholic prayer, that is clearly within his authority to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's just a matter, and yes, I think there's a little political statement, but then again, part of the publicity is exactly what the Catholic Church's position is.
All right, President Trump was booed when he showed up at the World Series, as you know, and the reason that, well, why are we talking about this, Jim? That's old news. But here's my question. No matter how you feel about Donald Trump, and even if he brought this on himself when they chanted lock him up and everything, the question is, do you think that baseball fans disrespected the office of the president? Ogie.
I so wish I'd have been at that game.
Well,
Hey, Jim, Trump disrespects the office of the presidency.
So he's lowered the bar.
Absolutely.
Carol.
I think they disrespected the office, and I think that no matter who the president is, the world is watching, and it doesn't matter what he does, it matters what we do as a people.
Don.
I agree. I think it was disrespecting the office, and we don't have to lower our bar.
All right.
As a fan.
Speaking of sports, just as the NCAA announced it would pay student athletes for the use of their name or likeness, North Carolina Senator Richard Burr jumped up and tweeted that students, if that happens, should pay taxes on their scholarship money. Does Burr have a good idea or a bad idea, Ogie?
Is he saying that you're irrespective of the money you might make with endorsements,
That's right.
your scholarship? No.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're making got a shoe deal, that's earned income,
Right.
but not your scholarship. That's absurd.
Yeah, he got hammered on
That's
that. Carol.
absurd.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Earned income, yes. Scholarship, no.
Don.
Yeah, and the scholarship, you could almost look at that, if we use the word quid pro quo here, I think you could probably argue that the university makes a lot of money on advertising, the student gets the scholarship. There's a quid pro quo for the athlete and the university.
Now, according to a new poll by the Associated Press, only 29% of Americans say the government should ever pay cash reparations for slavery. Additionally, the poll showed that only 74% of black Americans support reparations. Guys and gals, do any of these findings surprise you, and will the federal government ever initiate reparations? Ogie.
No, philosophically, we owe reparations. We do. But it's not going to happen. It just can't happen. It's too much water under the dam now. There's no way to administer it. There's not money. It can't happen.
Carol, the findings surprise you or what?
not really surprised me. Full disclosure, I'm black
Yeah.
and Catholic. I might as well put it all on the table
Yeah,
here.
let's get this straight. Let's review. Carol has admitted to being Catholic.
Yep.
She's admitted to being black.
Yep.
And off camera, she admitted to going to Michigan, which to me
That's
is
right. That's right.
right, so this
but
doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me. I think it's going to make about as much sense as saying every immigrant in the country that's illegal is going to be thrown out.
Done.
But I actually think it may. Nothing would surprise me. I think it can get on the table. It does not surprise me the polling, but it would also not surprise me to see a committee formed to investigate it
eventually
and
do
just
it.
look at how could the details be done and
All right.
what would it be.
Finally, after a series of experiments using toy cars, ladders, and balls, behavioral scientists at the University of Richmond have discovered that rats are better drivers. They have little cars. Rats are better drivers when they are mentally stimulated. Guys and gals, do you drive better when you are stimulated? Ogie.
What do you mean by stimulated?
Ogie, I don't know.
exactly, Jim?
This is a research question.
Is it little rats driving little teeny
They
cars?
are. They're
or-
driving
really?
little cars.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm skeptical.
Carol.
I like Smashing Pumpkins. Despite of my rage, I'm still just a rat
So
in a
you will
cage.
listen to them and just Don.
Maybe
what do you
that's the
think, Don?
stimulation. I don't know.
Well, I think mentally stimulated, yes, I'm a better driver. Unless I'm too wound up, then I
Yeah.
get distracted
All
by
three
my
of you are-
stimulation.
Yeah, you all three are wound up completely. That's all the time we have. Well, except for this. Singer Harry Styles recently confessed that he keeps his clothes in a refrigerator because wearing ice cold pants helps him perform better. Not so for most of us guys. You know what that means, Ogie?
I think I got that.
All
one,
right,
Jim.
for all of us here on Triad Today, except for Carol who went to
Except for
Michigan,
me.
I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.